You're gonna give it 20 minutes before I start reading. Let people come in, so skip to 20 minutes. I'll start reading then, if you're watching on the archive. In the meantime, I think a weed alert is in order. Feist of the day. Because we can't read the Tao Te Ching without being stoned. Something I made up just right now. Hey, what's up, Midas? How you doing? I'm doing alright. It has been a while since I streamed, yes. Just been wrapping up the EP, the songs I've been working on. I think it's gonna end up being like 15 minutes. It's not that long. Just a short little, it's like 6 tracks, 8 songs. I ultimately took out 2 of them because I felt they weren't developed enough, or they just didn't fit in. They would have taken longer to work on. I just thought I need to get this batch out. But I got the song titles in order. I was working on the cover for it, which involves some drawing and some cutting and pasting, collage. That's ready. And besides that, I've just been chilling. Been dipping into the Kinnison streams here and there. Been uploading my art to Instagram, the 4 pieces I did for the summer. And yeah, been playing with my band. We got the songs down now. The last 2 practices have been really good, really solid. If we play what we played at the show, it's gonna be a great show. Should we do the Snodcast? Yeah, I'm down. I should be out of practice by then. Sundays we tend to have practice earlier in the day. So yeah, I'm down. I was a little bit sleepy last time, but I feel feeling good today. I'm down for another one. Yeah, I'll tell Scrib. Oh yeah, we we do gotta wait on him, don't we? Wait, you have Discord on your computer, don't you? Why don't you host the Snodcast? Just change the scene to the banner. Then the only annoying thing for you would be balancing desktop audio from me and Scroat and your microphone. Oh yeah, because that would mean you would have to use your headphone microphone, which would not be so good. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. I'll message Scroat. Hope you're doing well today, Midas. I know you're doing not so good yesterday. It's a little bit drunk. But it's alright. Hopefully some of our reading today could help in some way. And if not, then, well, there's always tomorrow. I'm kind of just going through the Pomadian literature because I really need to get you guys mentally strong. Because though we know, well, you guys know, or have been introduced to the mysteries or to the forbidden knowledge, you do not have the strength or the, what's the word? Discernment to walk or think about it and not be fucked up by it. So hopefully, with a bit of this reading, we could find techniques, or you can, because I don't know specifically what I read to make me detached in a healthy way. It's not like I'm retarded. I'm not like a normie level where I think everything's fine. I know everything is fucked. But also, I need a healthy distance from it, because if not, I would fucking kill myself. And so would you. So hopefully, with some of this reading, I can communicate some of the mimetic strength to you, because it's not just my thing. It's not part of my personality. This is a very useful thing to have in your brain. Hopefully I could communicate it to you. I can't understand it for you, and really you gotta be open to the path of being a strong-minded person, because you can't just be reminding yourself over and over again that shit is fucked up. You know, knowledge isn't like a prescription. It doesn't go away if you stop thinking about it. So yeah. Hey, what's up, Perry? How you doing, my brother? Feel like it was a good stream. Really appreciate it. Yeah, you went fairly long. I don't think I've ever seen you go 3 hours. But yeah, man, it was chill. It was a good hang. And now we're here. Gonna do a little bit of reading. Hasn't happened in a while. I'm getting better. If I meditate, I get better, I found. Oh yes, Midas did a 7-hour stream not too long ago. I think that was last week. That was a good one, because that did not feel like 7 hours at all. We were all just chilling there, chillaxing. Midas played some games. Midas spilled his guts a bit. Well, as much as he usually does. Wait, how's the microphone? Should be good. Hold on. There we go. But yes, I would like to communicate to all the snotters a sort of strength for walking and waking in the world. Yeah, I woke up and I saw it. I was certain I passed out. Nice. And no stream problems either. No takedowns or anything. Which is weird, because I felt you were going pretty hard on the music videos. But hell yeah. We was lucky. You're listening to We Leave Now in Our Chariots of Light. Some ambient from Nobi One. Gonna start in 10 minutes here. Wait till some more people come in. I've yet to take my weed alert, so we'll go there. This is a non-Confucian version of the Tao Te Ching. Hey, what's up, Hogan? How you doing, my brother? Is this more Aztec Juju? No, the Tao Te Ching is Chinese. Hence the Ching in the name. Chinese. I'll go through the preface here, but basically what this guy was aiming for in this translation was a more purely Taoistic translation of the Tao Te Ching, because typically it was translated by Confucian monks who, well, at least it says here, the Tao and the Confucianists are a bit at odds in what they believe, so there might have been some biases in the earlier translations, who knows. I felt this version was very straightforward, not a lot of esoterica, besides the various allegories and metaphors of an operating city and the human body and the human mind. I haven't read any other version of the Tao, but yeah, it seemed pretty concise. It's not that long either. We could probably spend a good 2 hours like we usually do. And this one comes with several other books, Taoistic books, and they all seem really interesting. None of them are right here yet. Index? Oh, okay, yeah. Tao Te Ching, the principle of nature and its attributes, clue to the unseen, respiration of the embryo, imprint of the heart, universal understanding, you know, spiritual or philosophical treatises. How do you say that? I don't know. I have not read any of these other ones, but they're probably not that long. We'll see if we dip into any of them. Wee. Alright, we gotta take a piss real quick. Thank you all for joining. Are you ready for philosophy time? It's kind of weird referring to the Tao as philosophy, because it basically is, but it's not like, I don't know. It's more like poems. Poems with meaning. Poetic thought with meaning. Stray Kino. You know how the Chinese like to write, short passages, allegories, neat, quick allegories. It's been a while since I've read anything Western, but damn, it's like, even if the information is concise and useful, Western stuff is just way like analytical, very researchy. Though instinctual in its own way, once you get that much thought going, once you get that wheel turning, you can get some cool insights from it. But that's that tradition. I'm gonna start in 4 minutes here. This calls for a weed alert. Alright, cool. Scroat says he is down for a snotcast later. 10:30 EST, which is about 6.5 hours from now. Sicario keeps saying he wants to do a snodcast, but he never shows up. He hardly hangs out either, too. But you see him in the Aggie streams. He's hardcore parasocial in the Aggie chat. I tell you what. I guess our vibe just isn't cool enough. I guess we're not parasocial enough. We are real friends, fairly. We're fairly real friends. And some people can't rock with that. There's nothing parasocial for my love for the Snotters. Sicario. Hey, what's up, Chemo? How you doing, my brother? Welcome. I mean, I could be talking about Lego too, but yeah. People who don't really hang out, which I get, life can be busy, not a whole lot of time to always be on Discord with people. But you can just hang out a bit. It's also not that hard to just hang out a little bit. And initially I wasn't even all that much down with being in contact with people every single day, let alone a couple times a week. But it becomes like nothing. It just becomes like, oh cool, I'll just check Discord. There's like no difficulty. We all rock with each other, not purely as Eggy fans, but as friends with each other. Hey, what's up, Scroat? How you doing? Oh shit, I should be starting right now, but I keep getting distracted. I'm sorry. Whoever's watching this in the future, just skip a few minutes in. I should start in a bit. Damn it. Should grind up some of that weed before doing all this. Right. Oh. That's my cousins with the ATV out there. Damn it, I should have prepared. Weed. Clean my room a bit. Nice, nice. I have been seeing that you've been keeping it clean, fairly clean, in the Scroat household. Big ups, man. Also, big ups on kicking cigarettes. That's most definitely what's up. Which is hard, you know. You always hear how hard kicking nicotine is. Probably way harder than kicking weed. But hell yeah, nice. Anthol and Maya's giving TRT to Scroat. That would be awesome. I think with some friendly motivation, we could turn Scroat into a Greek god, the Greek god that he is. Return us all. With the help of the Snotters, we'll uncover the barrel-chested, manly man within us all. Oh. Push. Sorry. Probably the worst first take I could have had.
Hashtag season 3 in 7 days. Oh shit. It seems sorry. Sorry. Ooh. Seems to be the time for scary dreams. People in the household been getting scary dreams as well. After the panic attack, my mom was driving by so bad, she ate 5 potholes and swerved around. Jesus. Sounds insane. I'm sorry. Alright. Let's get started. Whew. Alright. It is only after some years of hesitation that I have undertaken a new version of the Tao. The task has already been performed by these people, first scholars of the first water, but it occurs to me with all deference, blah blah blah, that one prime defect at the root of every translation that has been published, that not one seems to have been based solely and entirely on commentaries furnished by the members of the Taoist school. The Confucian element enters largely into all, and here I think an injustice has been done to Laozi. To a Confucianist, the Taoist system is in every sense of the word a heresy, and a commentator holding this opinion is surely not the best expositor. It is a blah blah blah. It is a grammarian rather than a philosopher that a member of the Duchin deals with the Tao. He gives the sense of a passage according to the semantical construction rather than according to the genius of the philosophy itself, and attempting to explain the text by his own canons instead of the canons of Taoism. He mistakes the superficial and apparently obvious meaning for the hidden and esoteric interpretation. One of the greatest reproaches leveled at the Taoist system by Confucian scholars is the alleged scorn of ethical morality attributed to Laozi and his followers. They have been represented as ascribing all the troubles and vices of China to the example of Yao and Shun, and to the doctrines respecting benevolence, rectitude, ceremonies, and music enforced by the sages who immediately succeeded them. What? Lu Su, in this commentary, vehemently controverts his theory and strives to prove not only that Taoism and Confucianism are at one upon such points, but the latter is actually based upon the former. Wow. Being a mere carrying out in practice, a careful systematizing, as it were, of the radical doctrines of Lao Shu. The fact that I have entirely discarded all assistance from commentators of the Confucian school is my only excuse for coming forward with a new translation of this important classic. The version now presented is solely upon the commentaries of Lu Xunyang, commonly called Lu Su, a well-known Taoist patriarch of the 8th century of our era, and his guidance has followed throughout. I admit that this has not been done without some effort. It was no means easy at first to reject what appeared to be plain and clear, unmistakable meaning of the text, a meaning too endorsed by many scholars, in favor of interpretation at once far-fetched and obscure. But I felt I was, after all, under the guidance of a disciple, and not a critic of the master. And although many passages which therefore stood out distinctly enough are now dismissed by, or dimmed by mysticism, I cannot help thinking that we have advanced, although many passages have advanced a step forward, a step towards the comprehension of their true significance. There are other passages, the existing translations of which, apart from, I believe to be entirely and indeed wrong. And of these, I now offer a new rendering with confidence. The Virgin of Julian and Chalmers, blah 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 blah. Jesus, sorry. I need only add that the words enclosed in brackets thus are for the most part representative of the commentary I have followed, and thus serve to supplement the meager and laconic text. Occasionally a few lines of additional elucidation or remark have been appended where necessary in small type. The Tao, or principle of nature, may be discussed by all. It is not the popular common Tao, the Tao of ethics, dealing with the blah blah blah, the Tao of ethics. His name may be named. The Tao may receive a designation, though it itself has none. But it is not an ordinary name, or name in the usual sense of the word, for it is a presentment of the infinite. Its nameless period was that which preceded the birth of the universe. In being spoken of by name, it is as the progenitrix of all things, the period of blah blah blah, which divided and produced the universe, probably. The progenitrix of all. Never heard of that word. Female progenitor, foremother. Oh. The birth mother. Birth mother. It is therefore in habitual. It is therefore in habitual passionlessness that its mystery may be scanned, and in habitual desire that its developments may be perceived. These two conditions, the active and the quiescent, alike proceed from the Tao. It is only in name that they differ. Both may be called profundities, and the depth of profundity is the gate of every mystery. The beautiful being once recognized as such by the world, the repulsive appears as its converse. Goodness being once recognized as such, evil appears in like manner. Thus, existence and non-existence produce each other. The difficult and the easy bring about each other. The long and the short impart form to each other. The high and low comply with each other. Sounds and voices harmonize, priority and sequence alternate with each other. Wherefore the sage pursues a policy of inaction and teaches men in silence. Wherefore the sage pursues a policy of inaction and teaches men in silence. Example, he conforms to the Tao, or course of nature, which proceeds silently and spontaneously, and thus the people learn to govern themselves by his example without needing the interferences of legislation and instruction. Man, I should have not have smoked. He forms all things without shrinking from the labor. He produces them without claiming the possession of virtue, acts without presuming on his ability, and completes his achievements without taking any credit to himself. It is only he who thus does not stand upon his merit, and therefore his merit does not depart from him. That's going to be a reoccurring motif of not claiming something, or even claiming yourself to be the opposite, but it allowing the essence to flow through you or to be a part of you. It's kind of a paradoxical idea, but it does kind of work in practice with certain things, especially when we're talking about, enlightenment or philosophy. That's very much something you should be detached from in order to let it embody you, because it can't, being a philosopher or being a sage can't be a part of you. It has to be an essence. And at times it's kind of paradoxical. In order for you to let the essence of something to come through, you have to deny it to your mind or to the ego. Two things of which are or can be separate from the essence. It is only he who thus does not stand upon his merit, and therefore his merit does not depart from him. The sage, by not showing exclusive approval of those who are eminent in virtue, prevents the people from quarreling. By not setting high store of things difficult to obtain, he prevents the people from becoming robbers. By closing his eyes to the objects of desire, he secures his heart from corruption. Wherefore the sage is governing, does so with a heart empty of all distractions and temptations, but a bosom full of justice and benevolence. He makes his will pliant, his bodily framework firm. He ever keeps the people from harmful knowledge and desires, and prevents those who have such knowledge from daring to put it into practice. He pursues a policy of inaction, and there is therefore nothing that is left ungoverned. The Tao is full, exhaustless, and complete, yet in operation as though not self-related. Yet in operation as though not self-related. What? In its origin, it is, as it were, the ancestor of all things. It chastens asperity, which, what's asperity? Harshness of tone or manner, harsh qualities or conditions. It chastens asperity, it unravels confusion, it moderates the radiance proceeding from those in whom Tao is embodied, and it identifies itself with the sordid ones of the earth, the dust or common people. It enables a man to associate with the base without being defiled. Pellucid as a spreading ocean, it yet has the semblance of permanence. I know not whose offspring it is. Its essence existed before God was. Pellucid. Translucently clear. If heaven and earth were not benevolent, they would regard creation in the light of grass, which is worthless, and dogs, which are killed. Chinese. If the sage were not benevolent, he would likewise regard the people in the light of grass and dogs. The space between heaven and earth may be compared to a leathern bag or box, a receptacle with heaven for a lid and earth for a floor. It is a vacuum, outside which there is nothing, exercising no pressure on that which is within. The more it moves, the more prolific it is. Those who talk too much will often come to an end of their words. It is better to maintain rectitude inwardly. The spirit of death, the spirit of the depths, is immortal. It is called the heaven and the earth. The passage through which two influences emerge and enter is called the root of the visible creation. They are ceaseless in action as though permanent, and may be drawn upon, used or laid under contribution, without ever being exhausted. Kind of like the Chinese version of Genesis in a way. Once it gets into the nitty-gritty, it's going to be more allegories to proper governance in the mind and the body. I think the best thing to do is to be honest to yourself and see yourself as you are. Maybe be lucky enough to find a man in history that matches your spice. Follow him. INTJ personality thing is really good because in the end it shows historical figures which you watch. I guess, maybe. Though no man could teach you what God could teach you. And no man can come back from the dead to teach you. And with the idols, you know, they can be disappointing. You could be disillusioned with idols. That's a good thing. That allows for a growth. Though I do agree with you, Midas, it is good to find somebody you idolize and kind of follow what they do, emulate them. Do that until you're, like I said, disillusioned with what they are. And then take steps to being more personal and having a direct connection with reality, as opposed to following the words and thoughts of another man, which is not a bad thing. We all have to. We all have to go through teaching, which is, internalizing the teachings of other men. But they will only get you so far. Heaven is everlasting, earth endures. The reason of the endurance of heaven and earth is that they were not self-produced. Therefore, it is that they are able to endure forever. Thus, though, the sage, in imitation of them, regards the cultivation of his body as of secondary importance. His body still progresses, of its own accord. He discards his body, and yet his body is preserved. Is not this because he has no selfishness? Wherefore he is able to realize all his wishes in carrying out the principle of the Tao in his own person. The goodness of the ruler resembles water, in pliancy, adaptability, and fertilizing power. The goodness of water is beneficial to all things, and that without struggling. The abiding place is despised by the multitude. The abiding place of the imperial goodness, whatever that means. For it is lowly, referring to the downward course of water. and therefore it is near to Tao. Wherever it dwells, it sanctifies the spot. In the heart, its sanctifying properties are unfathomable. In bestowing its sanctities, it sanctifies benevolence. In speaking, it sanctifies trustworthiness. In administration, it sanctifies government. In fulfillment of daily work, it sanctifies ability. In the adoption of public measures, it sanctifies acting seasonably. It alone never strives against anyone, and therefore it gives rise to no resentful feelings. It is better to desist altogether than having once grasped the Tao. To pride oneself, oh my god, my dog's farted. It is better to desist altogether than having once grasped the Tao, to pride oneself in one's self-sufficiency. Let's desist. Like, it's better to stop altogether than to pride yourself in one's self-sufficiency. Yes, C's abstain. It's better to stop altogether than having once grasped the Tao, to pride oneself in one's self-sufficiency. So research, if carried on too keen a point, prevents the preservation of the body, hastens death. When a hall is filled up with jewels and gold, it cannot be guarded intact. When wealth and honors are combined with arrogance, they themselves invoke calamity. To keep oneself in the background when merit has been achieved and fame has been followed in his wake, this is the way to heaven. Having received in the birth processes a living soul, one is able, by preserving its individuality, pure and uncorrupted, to prevent disunion with the pure original. By controlling the vital force and bringing it to the utmost degree of pliancy, one is able to become as a little child again, revert to one's pristine state of innocence. By washing and cleansing oneself of that which heaven alone can see, secret sins, one may become without one blemish. By governing the empire by love towards the people, one is able to keep them from knowing evil. They will live in an atmosphere of contentment and trust. When the door of heaven is now open, now closed, and then the female principle, open, now closed, then the female principle will disappear. All will be pure yang. The commentator points out this is the door of virtue, through which men are permitted by heaven to pass to and fro, and this will be assimilated with the yang in all its purity, which is dominated by blah blah blah. If one's understanding reaches in every direction, he can disregard knowledge. As such, there will be no such thing to him as ignorance. What he produces, he nourishes. Producing, he does not claim the possession of virtue. Acting, he does not presume upon his ability. Though he be a veteran among his fellows, he assumes no seniority over them. This may be called sublime virtue, the highest development of Tao. Pristine snodices. Also, I'm trying to remember if I said what's up, Hogan. If not, I'm sorry. What's up? Welcome. We're reading the Ching Chong. Oh wait, no, yeah, I do remember you came in. The Ching Chong Ching. Chapter 6 or 11. I mean, 30 spokes uniting in a nave were employed in olden times before the invention of carriages. Clay made into utensils were employed before the times of palaces and dwellings, where there were no sacrificial vases, goblets, or bowls. A door and a window, hewn in a hillside, did duty for a residence before the erection of houses. Wherefore, the possession of these things may be regarded as beneficial, while their former absence may be said to have been useful, and that it led to the necessity of their being made. Wherefore the possession of these things may be regarded as beneficial, while their absence may be said to have been useful. Having them is beneficial. Not having them is useful, because it leads to it being made. Okay. The 5 colors blind the eyes of men. The 5 tones deafen their ears. The 5 flavors vitiate their palates. Galloping and hunting induce derangement of the mind. Objects that are difficult of attainment lead them to incur obstacles or injury in their pursuit. Thus the sage cares for his inner self, and not for that which his eye can see, for which reason he discards the latter and preserves the former. So true. Favor and disgrace are alike. Favor and disgrace are alike a cause of fear. Honors bring great calamity upon the body. What is it that one calls favor and disgrace? Disgrace implies downfall, the loss of one and subjection to the other are equally causes of apprehension. Therefore, it can be said that favor and disgrace both give rise to fear. And what is meant by saying that honors bring calamity upon the body? The calamities which upon me are the consequences of my possessing a body. Had I none, what calamities would I incur? Wherefore, if the honors which have come upon me personally are on account of my position as a ruler, then the whole empire will subject itself to me. And those who cultivate personal benevolence in ruling may commit themselves to the empire forever. That which may be looked for, but proves invisible, is called the distant. That which may be listened for, but proves inaudible, is called vacancy. That which may be clutched at, but proves intangible, is called the subtle. Words are inadequate thoroughly to examine these 3 properties. Therefore they blend together and become one. Above it is not bright, below it is not dim. Continuous in endurance it cannot be named. In reverting to vacuity it may be called the form of formlessness, the image of the non-existent, for which reasons it is unsearchable. Standing opposite to it, one cannot see its head. Following it, one cannot perceive its back or footprints. Obtaining the Tao of ancient times, applying it as an aid to the methods in vogue at the present day. Obtaining the Tao of ancient times and applying it as an aid to the methods in vogue at the present day may be called getting the germ or clue of Tao. That one is able to arrive at a knowledge of its long past origin, whatever. Way too wordy at times. Not useful for reading out loud. A lot of run-on sentence which comes to mean and can be explained as having meant to be a reference to. Fuck you. This is too much fluff. But this kind of stuff, this kind of mode is great for reading. silently reading, great for the old brain here. But something to be voiced, something to be read out loud would have to be tighter. I gotta pee. Metasnas. We're half an hour into the Tao. Very short chapters, as you can see. Not long at all. I was trying to recall when I first read this. It might have been well, the first time I found it definitely in the early 2010s, because I had known about sacredtext.org from 4chan. Get a huge library of esoterica, so go check it out. Very useful. So, yeah, possibly 09 even. No, maybe, I don't know. But then I read it again, maybe in 2016, and again in like during COVID times, I think. Or maybe I didn't even read it that many times, because I don't walk around with any of this stuff in my brain. It's too much for me to recall. I think I did internalize the vibes. Not just from this
this text, but you know, the general Taoistic flavor of some Discordianism and certain meme magic, or magic memes, I guess I could say. It was very cool. I do have a few screenshots of this on my hard drive, I think, from COVID. Let me see the date. Just get a timeline on this. Which is not really important to you, but to me, it's very fucking important. Here we go. Wait, created 2020, modified 2018. Okay, yeah. Yeah. That lines up. Wait, just with that intro, you know, Confucianism isn't Taoism, and they're even opposed in certain ways, and I guess Confucianism comes from Taoism. I don't follow any of this stuff heavily, so that was pretty new to me. It was good to learn before I even read anything, to be honest. Be right back, gonna go read at the park. Nice. I'll get that link, Midas, after I finish reading. Thank you. That was interesting. Nice. I'm gonna finish this whole thing. Could be a good 2-hour read, like the other stuff I read. It isn't that long. Thank you, man. Have a good day. I'll see you on the Snodcast later. Just shit myself. Sometimes I wonder, like, if anybody ever, if anybody who doesn't know me just ever decided to watch some of these streams, they'd be like, "What the fuck?" I thought he was gonna read the Tao. I thought he was gonna read Discordian literature. He's just smoking weed and being racist and farting. Mommy, the farting racist chud is reading Esoterica. Stop him. My room must smell crazy. Dog farts, dog smell, weed farts. The dog smell isn't that bad, or at least... Oh yeah, no. We just washed all the beds, so the smell isn't that bad. It can get stanky. Dog farts, my farts. I've been trying to keep the weed smell low, because honestly, being around a very strong weed smell, even if it is my weed, or my smoking time, or my room, it's annoying. Having that skunky smell, having a very smoky, skunky smell around it, it is annoying. Come on, you're not racist, Beaumont. Fucking dude. Well, thank you, Midas. I pride myself on not being racist.
But yeah, thanks for chilling, Midas. If you catch one thing from this reading, it's the idea of don't let something possess you so hard that you don't let it embody you. Don't get stuck or hung up on something so hard that you don't let the essence of it embody you, which is the purpose of those kinds of tools. It's not like it's not a part of your personality or your self-image. It's not a prescription that you take every day. Oh, I gotta think about this thing every day or else I might forget. And I can't be one of those people that don't know the thing, because those people are less than human. Yeah, it's a barrier, it's a limit, it's a wall. And it takes about energy that could be used for it to help you embody the purpose of the tools. The tools. But yeah, keep on going here. Whoa. Oops, ah, shit. You back? Ah, damn, hold on. I was balancing my mouse on my thigh. What would be some good music, to be honest? I just put on this ambient album because I wanted something fairly quiet. What would be cool? How about a little soul? No, this might be too distracting. Damn it! Like that's the thing. I want something tight, but not super distracting. Fuck it, let's do a vaporwave mix. Alright. Sorry, Jesse. Come on. Sorry, Jesse. Alright, back to it. Yeah, sorry. The Tao... Wait, sorry. The Tao of those eminent for wisdom in the olden times was subtle, mysterious, recondite, and penetrating. Its depths were unrecognizable by others. These, the non-adepts, being unable to learn it, strove by main force, therefore, to act it out in practice. They endured the hardships of their search, as those who ford streams in the winter. Cautious were they as those who dread the ridicule of their neighbors. Reverent were they as those who entertain a visitor. Expansive were they as ice on the point of melting. Simple and unpolished were they, as unhewn wood. Vacant were they as a ravine, undiscerning were they as turbid water. Who is able to make turbid water grow gradually clear by reducing its quiescence? Who is able to impart unending life to that which is at rest by setting it into perpetual motion? Those who preserve this Tao desire no fullness, wherefore, having no fullness, they are able to guard it in their hearts forever, and it never requires to be renewed. One more time. Those who preserve this Tao desire no fullness, desiring no fullness. Wherefore, having no fullness, they guard it in their hearts forever. When the extreme of emptiness is reached, as by heaven, and quiescence rigidly preserved as by earth, then all things are simultaneously produced. And by this example, I observe their revelations. All things are, after flourishing, like the herb yuen, return each to what it sprang from. Returning to this source is called quiescence. And this implies a reversion to the original ordinance of heaven. Reversion to the original ordinance of heaven is called the basis or the pivot of Tao. Knowledge of this may be called enlightenment, while ignorance of it leads to a reckless working out of one's own ruin. He who knows it bears with others. Bearing with others, he is just, being just, he is fit to be king. Being a king, he is associate of heaven, whose decree he holds and whose ordinance he carries out. Heaven is the offspring of Tao, and Tao reserves the death of him who is the embodiment of it, living on, unharmed forever. So the Tao literally translates to the way. And with all the stuff we've been reading, it's the way of heaven. The way to heaven, more like the way of heaven, like the laws of heaven. Or alternatively, like the will of God. In a more Christian context. Those of preeminent wisdom and purity know this Tao intuitively from their birth, and so possessed it. Those of the second rank, the men of virtue, approached it nearly and eulogized it. Eulogized it. Those of the third rank, who were still above the commonality, stood in awe of it. Those of the lowest rank held it in the light esteem. Their belief in it was superficial, imperfect, while there were even some who did not believe in it at all. What a mismatch of words, whatever. Mishmash. I can't really critique it here if I can't really pronounce what I want to say. The first spoke only with forethought and calculation, as though honoring their words. When their public labors were achieved and affairs progressed unimpeded, the peoples all said, "This is our natural, spontaneous condition." When the great Tao of the 5 rulers and the 3 dynasties fell into disuse, benevolence and rectitude appeared. When the men of wisdom and kindness came forth, then hypocrisy began to spread. Good men were counterfeited by the base. Discord arose in families, and this manifested by contrast the virtues of piety and compassion. The state was thrown into anarchy, and this led to the appearance of faithful ministers. When sages are rejected as rulers, and the services of the wise are discarded, the people's wealth will increase 100-fold, for their hearts will all be set on covetousness. When benevolence and rectitude in government are abjured, such will be the height of disorder. the people will revert to their natural qualities of filial piety and compassion by sheer force of reaction. When ingenuities of luxury and eagerness for gain are renounced, there will be no more robbers, for there will be no accumulations of wealth to be worth stealing. These three propositions show that mere externals are insufficient for good government, and therefore each man should be ordered to confine himself to performing his own special work in life. By looking always on the reality of things and preserving the simple truth, the people will become less selfish and have fewer desires. And by pursuing their researches into the doctrine to the utmost limit, they may avoid sorrow. How small is the distance dividing a prompt affirmative from a sycophantic what? I'm not gonna read that. The world is joyful and merry on as a day of sacrifice, or are those who mount what the fuck? This seems like something that would be spoken out loud. The world is joyful and merry as the world is joyful and merry as on a day of sacrifice. I alone prefer solitude and quiet, and seek not to pry into futurity. I am like an infant that has grown to be a child. Listless, it's like poetry. Okay. Listlessly I roam hither and thither, as though I had no. I don't know. Fuck it. Too poetic. Read that on your own time if you want. I am alone, a doltish clown. The appearance of virtue in its fullest exuberance is no more than the result of compliance with the Tao. Oh. Tao, considered as an entity, is obscure and vague and obscure, yet within it there's form. Yet within it there is substance. Yet within it there is quintessential energy. And this is supremely real. Within it too there is trustworthiness from ancient down to modern times. Its name has never been lost. By it I can include in the range of my observation the whole of animate nature. How am I cognizant of the acquiescence of animate nature in Tao? By Tao itself. In cultivating Tao, there are first the sprouts, then perfection. First there is perversion, then rectification. There's hollowness, then plenitude. There's destruction of the old and renovation. There's humility and acquisition. Self-sufficiency is followed by suspicion on the parts of others. Therefore the sage preserves unity in his heart and becomes a pattern to the whole world. He does not say himself that he can see, and therefore he is perspicacious, which I'm guessing is all-seeing. He does not say himself that he is right, and therefore he is manifested to all. He does not praise himself. He does not praise himself, and therefore his merit is recognized. He is not self-conceited, and therefore he increases in knowledge. And as he never strives with anybody, so the world does not strive with him. And that saying of the olden times, first the sprouts, then perfection, be called meaningless. The attainment of genuine perfection implies a reversion to the original nature of man. So true. Reticent? What the fuck? My brain is small. I've never seen that word. The quality of being reserved. Introversion, restraint. Oh, okay. Restraint in speech leads to spontaneity. A boisterous wind does not continue after dawn. A deluge of rain does not outlast the day. Who is it that produces these two phenomena, heaven and earth? Seeing then that the forces of nature cannot last forever, how much less can man? Wherefore, among those who order their affair in accordance with Tao, those who understand the doctrine are identified with Tao. Those who are possessed of virtue are identified with the virtue, or attributes of Tao, while those who lose both are identified with their loss, so that they do not recognize it as being a loss. Those who... Wait, let me read that again. Wherefore, among those who order their affairs in accordance with the Tao, those who understand the doctrine are identified with Tao. And those who lose the virtue and the accordance identify with their loss, so that they do not recognize it as being a loss. Those who become thus identified with Tao are also received joyfully by those who are already possessed by the Tao. Those who become identified with its virtue are also received joyfully by those who are already in possession of it. The loss sustained by those who are identified with the loss of both is also rejoiced in by those who are already in the same case. So true. Like attracts like. Where there is insufficiency of faith on the part of one, there will result an entire absence of faith on the part of others. Dang. A man who raises himself on tiptoe cannot remain firm. A man with crooked legs cannot walk. He who says himself that he can see is not enlightened. He who says himself that he is right is not manifested to others. He who praises himself has no merit. He who is self-conceited will not increase in knowledge. Such men may be said to be on the search for the Tao, that they may gorge themselves in feeding and act the parasite. Moreover, they are universally detested. Therefore, those who are possessed of Tao do not act in such a way. So true. Oh my god. So true, Mr. Tao. I'm really enjoying this rereading. This reintroduction to this version of the Tao is very good. It's very instant in the very important things that you're supposed to glean from Taoism, I think. It's not like it takes you a while to get to it. There's some convoluted parts, like that poetic chapter up here. Which I'm gonna read it. By looking always on the reality of things and persevering and preserving the simple truth, the people will become less selfish and have fewer desires. And by pursuing their researches to the utmost limit, they may avoid sorrow. How small is the distance providing a prompt affirmative from a sycophantic acquiescence, yet how great is that between virtue and mortality. I cannot but fear that which is feared by most. Their scholarship, how neglected is it? It is still night with them. Don't really get that. The world is joyful and merry as on a day of sacrifice. Oh yeah, we did read that. Like an infant ear it has grown to be a child. Listlessly I roam hither and thither as though I had no home to go to. The multitude have abundance and to spare. I alone am like one who is relinquished to everything. Have I therefore the heart of a fool? Confused and dim. while the vulgar are apparently enlightened. I alone am in the dark, tossed to and fro like the sea, roving without cessation. The multitude have whereupon to employ their energies. I alone am a doltish clown, but I alone differ from all others in that I reverence my nursing mother. Interesting. Seems to be like a dialogue of somebody who's in struggle to get right with the Tao and is confused as to why the vulgar masses are more apparently enlightened or in line with the Tao than he is, even though he sees all that's wrong. Interesting. Yeah, something like that requires a different diction. You know, I can't be reading it like the rest of it. Yeah, good thing I went back and read that. There was something formed from chaos which came into being before heaven and earth. Silent and boundless, it stands alone and never changes. It pervades every place and incurs no danger of being impaired. It may be called the mother of the universe. I know not its name, but its designation is Tao. If forced to call it something, I will call it great. Being great, it moves ever onward, and thus I say that it is remote. Being remote, I say that it returns. Therefore Tao is great, heaven is great, earth is great, and the king is also great. In the universe there are 4 things that are great, and the king is one of them. Man regulates himself by the earth. Earth regulates itself by heaven. Heaven regulates itself by the Tao. And Tao regulates itself by its own inherent nature, or spontaneously. The weighty source of delight, stillness, dominates disquietude. Wherefore, while the sage proceeds the whole day according to the Tao, he never departs from either calmness or gravity, although there may be spectacles of worldly glory to attract him. He sits quietly alone, far above the common crowd. How is that a prince of 10,000 studs of horses can regard his own people as of less importance than his regal dignity? This lightness on the part of the prince loses him his ministers, while restlessness on the part of the ministers loses them their prince. The conduct of the virtuous leads neither trace nor clue. The words of the virtuous afford no ground for fault finding. The projects of the virtuous require no intrigue. When the virtuous are obstructed in their policies, though there will be no bolt to the door which shuts them in, it yet cannot be opened. When the virtuous enter into relations with others, though they not be bound by the ties of contract, they yet may not release themselves from their obligations. Thus the sage ever uses his goodness in saving others, and therefore there are none who are abandoned. He ever uses his goodness in saving the inanimate creation, and therefore there are none of these who are abandoned. This is called being doubly enlightened. Wherefore the virtuous man is the teacher or patron of the bad man, while the bad man is employed as material on which to work by the virtuous man. If the bad man does not revere the other as his teacher, nor the good man love the former as his material, then in spite of any wisdom either may possess, they are both greatly blinded. This doctrine is important and sublime. If the bad man does not revere the other as a teacher, and if the good man does not love the former as his material, in spite of any wisdom either may possess, they are both greatly blinded. So true. Hey, thank you, Scroat. Appreciate it, brother. What's up, Anthol? We doing alright? The snoud, taste snog. Worldly snot, so true. Yes. Oh my god. Fucking dog farts, man. But yeah, really enjoying rereading this. It's a good read. Hardly esoteric. Pretty straightforward, I would say. Like once you get the main paradoxical point being that action is a limit or a wall to being. No, not action. Maybe like focus. Yeah. Focus on the wrong things gets in the way of the path to heaven. Something like that. You gotta not think about it. You gotta just let it come through you. Damn it, Jesse. Give me some space. He who, conscious of manly strength, guards a womanly weakness, becomes the channel of the whole empire, to which all minor streams converge. Being thus the channel of the whole empire, the cardinal virtues will never depart from him, and he will revert to a condition of childlike innocence. He who, conscious of light, keeps in obscurity will become a model for the whole empire. Being a model for the whole empire, the cardinal virtues will never fail him, and he will revert to the unconditioned. He who, conscious of its glory, guards humility, will become the valley of the whole empire. He will revert to his original simplicity. When this simplicity is distributed, brought into play, the man becomes a thing of utility to the state. The sage employs men of this simplicity and advances them to a high rank. Therefore, his administration is on a grand scale and never comes to an end. Seems a fair amount of Taoism is set up to have like a philosopher king, or like a very knowledgeable, smart kind of king, and having a proper leader or king to an empire puts everything else in order as well. Though the analogy is supposed to be of like the sage, I guess, as you, and your empire being like your body, your life, your health, your relationships, also literally society. When a man desires to obtain the empire and govern it by acting on his principle of simplicity, I see that he does so in spite of himself. The insignia of royalty may not be used as such. Those who make them will break them. Those who clutch at them will lose them. For among the things of the world, there are those who lead and those who follow. There are ejaculations of grief and ejaculations of gladness. What? Ejaculations of grief. No, goose, no, goose. No, goose, no. Or just like scream like that British guy from Instagram, like when you cough. Primal goosh, but also the goosh of glad. What a beautiful world we live in. So many choices. There are those who are strong and those who are weak. There are those who sustain loads and those who are good for nothing. Oh wow, okay. For those the sage puts away excess, display, and pride. Oh, for this reason the sage puts away excess, display, and pride. So true. Those who use Tao in assisting their sovereign do not employ soldiers to force the empire. The methods of government they adopt are such as to have a tendency to react upon themselves. Where garrisons are quartered, briars and thorns spring up. The land is deserted by the people. Disastrous years inevitably follow in the wake of great armies. Wise rulers act with decision and nothing more. They do not venture to overuse overbearing measures. They are decided without self-conceit or boasting or pride. They are decided in spite of themselves, without presuming on brute force. After a man has arrived at the prime of his strength, he begins to age. This is attributable to his not possessing the Tao. Those who do not possess the Tao die before their time. The finest weapons of war are implements of disaster. All creatures hate them. Therefore, those who are possessed of Tao make no use of them. The ideal man in his own house regards the left hand as the most honorable. Those who use weapons of war give honor to the right, as being that in which arms are brandished. Weapons are implement of disaster. They are not the implements employed by the ideal man. If he ever uses them, he does so because he cannot help it. He regards tranquility and passionlessness as supreme. Victory in a war is not a beautiful thing. Those who see beauty in it are such as those who see the beauty in it take delight in killing men. It is impossible for those who take delight in killing others to obtain the suffrages of the empire. In matters of joyful import, the left hand is the highly esteemed. In matters of disaster, the right hand. The general second in command occupies the left-hand position in the war chariot. It is the general-in-chief who is stationed on the right, meaning that the meaning of this is that the latter is placed similarly to the chief mourner at a funeral, in an auspicious position. Having been instrumental in killing multitudes of people, he should weep bitterly with pity and compassion. Having gained a victory in battle, he thus still occupies the position of chief mourner at a funeral. General Tao chicken. General Tao Dora to go. To go da. Slide hold Steve, sold out of light holders, so glad I snagged the cheetah print one. Hell yeah, man. The 5 stages of Goon. Ever said come baby. Yeah, it's so true. The Tao predicted death grips. The ejaculation of grief. Anyways. Tao remains ever nameless, however insignificant Tao remains ever nameless. However insignificant may be the simplicity of those who cultivate it, the empire does not presume to claim their services as ministers. If princes and monarchs could but preserve this simplicity, every creature in the world would submit itself to them. Heaven and earth would be in mutual accord and shower down sweet dew. The people would need no laws, but live in harmony of themselves. It was in the beginning that a name was fabricated for Tao. This name, once existing, heaven, also may be known, as such knowledge ensures the indestructibility of the doctrine. The presence of Tao in the world may be compared to streams which ever flow, and mountain gorges which are indestructible, in their union with rivers and seas which are unfathomable. Those who know others are shrewd. They who know others are shrewd. Self-knowers are enlightened. Those who overcome others have bodily strength. Self-vanquishers have determination. Those who know when they have enough are rich. Those who act with determination or perseverance have strength of will. Those who lose not what they have learnt, the Tao, retain it always. Those who up till death are not lost to Tao enjoy posthumous activity. The great Tao is all-pervasive. It may be seen on the right and on the left. All things depend on it and are produced. It denies itself to none. It achieves its work of merit but has no name or reputation among men. With tenderness it nourishes all things, yet claims no lordship over them. It is passionless, and it may be named among them the smallest things. All things submit to it, yet it claims no lordship over them. It may be called great. Thus, the sage to the end of his life never exalts himself, and thus he is able to achieve great things. So true. If the great simulacrum, the image or idea of Tao, be obtained, the empire will be forever free from harm. There will be tranquility, peace, and universal joy, the attraction of which, acting as a bait, will detain the passing traveler. The utterance of Tao is insipid. It has no flavor. If looked at, it appears not worth seeing. If listened to, it appears not worth hearing. But if used, it is found inexhaustible in resources. So true. When one feels a desire to concentrate it in one's own heart, it is imperatively necessary to display it openly. When one feels a desire to cultivate it in its blind phase, it is imperatively necessary to fortify and strengthen one's own powers. When one feels a desire to abandon or neglect it, it is imperatively necessary to stir up one's mind afresh in its pursuit. If anyone feels a desire to obtain it, it is imperatively necessary that it should be imparted to him. By this means, the hidden phases of Tao will become clear. The weak and pliable overcomes the strong and hard. Gosh. A fish cannot leave the depths. A treasure of a state should not be employed to influence the people, such as jewels and such. This Aryan could be, I don't know. Who knows how old, well, it goes back to Lao Tzu, so it was definitely like Chinese people at that point. But this stuff is, like it'll tell you, it's nameless. It's always there, like the rivers and the valleys and the mountains. It is the essence worth tapping into, if there is one. Whether it be in a Christianity or Aryanism, Buddhism, Vedicism. Tao is ever inactive, yet there is nothing it does not do. If feudal princes and sovereigns can be but preserved. If feudal princes and sovereigns can but preserve it, all creatures will reform themselves. But if once reformed, desires should again rise. I would restrain them by the exercise of simplicity, which is without a name. This nameless simplicity will prevent the rise of desires. An absence of desire will produce quiescence. And then the empire will become settled of its own accord. Probably in terms of governance, probably not such a bad doctrine. Though I'm sure we're all getting like flavors of proto-communism in there. But I guess in general, like communism would be good if it was like for one's own benefit and not as a measure to force people to be together and take their money. Oof, it's getting kind of hot in here. I gotta take a little break here. A little weed alert.
Oof, almost at the 2 hour mark, and we're not even halfway through here. I don't remember it being this long. Maybe there's a bunch of dead space at the end or something. But we're gonna keep going. I don't care. We'll read as much as we can. We're already almost halfway through, so might as well. Snodionism, so true. Back to it.
Virtue, in those of supreme authority, does not itself claim to be virtue. And that is why virtue rulers are possessed of true virtue. Virtue in those of lower rank does not recognize its own loss as such. That is why unvirtuous ministers and people have no true virtue. So there's no virtue in like recognizing you're fallen or should be better, this and that. That's not virtuous or true virtue. Yes, you lack it. Get on it. In and of itself, it's not virtuous. The virtue of those in supreme authority is inactive and does not use action in government. The virtue of those in lower rank is active and employs active measures. Although the benevolence of those in supreme authority is active, it does not depend on action or making itself felt. The rectitude of those in supreme authority is active and finds vent in active measures. The ceremonial observances of those in supreme authority are active, and there is not a single man who does not respond to them. Under these circumstances, all will bear the arm and submit to the guidance of the rulers. Therefore, when the Tao has attained its full development, it results in virtue. When virtue has attained its full development, it results in benevolence. When benevolence has attained its full development, it results in rectitude. And when rectitude has attained its full development, it results in ceremonial observances. When ceremonial observances are nothing but an attenuation of uprightness and sincerity, they become the head and front of disorder. So true. Those who are in advance of others in knowledge constitute the outward glory of Tao. Those who are in advance of others in knowledge constitute the outward glory of Tao. And from such comes the beginning of falling. Those who succeed them are dazzled by the display and take no account of the reality within. Thus, it is that great men take their stand on what is solid, and not on what is flimsy, on what is true and not what is showy. For this reason, they discard the one and adopt the other. The things which of old obtained the unity are heaven, which by it pure yang becomes clear, earth, which by it the pure yin becomes motionless, the gods, which by it become divinely intelligent, the valleys, which by it become full, all creatures, which by it are produced, princes and kings, which by it rule uprightly. To carry out this doctrine of proof, heaven is deprived of its source. To carry out this doctrine of proof, heaven, if deprived of its source of clearness, would be in danger of disruption. Earth, if deprived of its source of motionless, would be in danger of upsetting. The gods, if deprived of their source of divine intelligence, would be in danger of being abandoned by their worshippers. Valleys, if deprived of their source of replenishment, would be in danger of drying up. Creatures, if they were deprived of their source of production, would be in danger of annihilation. Princes and kings, if deprived of their source of honor and dignity, would be in danger of being overthrown. Therefore, the ruling class regard the commonality as the foundation of their power, and those in high position essentially regard the proletariat as that upon which they rest. Hence, princes and kings style themselves orphans, solitary ones, unworthy ones. Is not this an acknowledgement that the commonality is their support? Is it not so? To come then to the point, when patricians and plebeians are both without conflicting private desires, the only difference between the two is that the former resembles polished gems, while the latter are like unhewn stones. The meaning of this is that the ruling classes bear the same relation to the proletariat the jade bearers to common stone. Both are the same material at the bottom. The only difference is external. The two classes are described as those who keep many carriages and those who keep none. Just carried 8 buckets of snod water out of the basement sink because the grandma put in loads of dishes before plumbers came. Oh damn. Nearly blew all over the basement. Shit, man. I stink like a sewer and straight from the slums of Shaolin. Yeah, holy shit. That sucks, bro. Damn. That's one way to spend your afternoon, your noon. Jeez. Maybe you need Zen at a time like this. You need some Taoism in a time like this. Man who does thankless job of bucketing shit water for grandma is enlightened. When scholars of the first grade hear of Tao, they sedulously practice it. When second-rate scholars hear of it, they now observe, now lose it. When scholars of the lowest hear it, they greatly deride it. If it did not provoke derision on the part of such, it would not be worth the name of Tao. Wherefore, as the ancient apothegms express it, those who are illuminated the Tao are as though in darkness, for its depths are unfathomable. Those who enter Tao are as though they receded from causation and hesitation. Those who regard the Tao as heterodox appear as though belonging to the same class as its true adherents. These 3 descriptions apply respectively to the 3 classes of scholars above enumerated. Oh, okay. The last are said to appropriate the outward characteristics of the best scholars, passing themselves off as belonging to the same class. Okay. Just LARPing. Very different classes of scholars back in the day. The highest virtue resembles a ravine in profundity. Great virtue resembles ignominy in that it is not the highest. What's that mean? Ignominy? Public shame or disgrace. Humiliation, embarrassment, mortification, disgrace. The great virtue resembles humiliation in that it is not the highest. Widespread virtue is as though insufficient. Established virtue appears like meanness in the eyes of foolish men. The purest human character. Okay, all of these things. All of these in the eyes of foolish men. For the foolish man, the highest virtue resembles a ravine. Great virtues resemble humiliation. Widespread virtue is thought of insufficient. Established virtue appears like meanness. The purest human character as though liable to excess. The great square has no corners. This is the Tao, whose extent is limitless, but which has no form. The great vessel takes long to complete. The great sound is but seldom heard. The great simulacrum has no form. I find it kind of hard that Taoist monks knew the word simulacrum, but maybe they did. Like I said, I'm not too learned. But when I hear simulacrum, I think of Baudrillard in a more more modern philosophy style. Though the idea of simulacrum is old, you know. I don't know about that word. Tao is imperceptible and nameless. It is only Tao that excels in imparting itself to men and enabling them to achieve merit. Tao produced the first, heaven. The first produced the second, earth. These two produced the third. The third, which was produced by the heavenly and earthly of Flati, consisted of the 6 Kwa, of which are Yang and 3 Yin. Huh? Anyways, the third produced all things, and these turn their back upon the Yin and embrace the Yang. Intermingling of these two aflati results in harmony. All things turn their back on heaven, I guess. Which one's Yang? Which is Yang? Hold on. Passive female principle. Okay. Earth, dark, cold. Oh, okay. The third produced all things, and these turned their back upon the earth to embrace heaven. Okay. And the intermingling of these two aflati, the yin and yang, results in harmony. What men most hate is to be orphaned, widowed, and unworthy. And yet princess and dukes so style themselves. Wherefore, when things are diminished, they increase, and when they are increased, they are diminished. So true. What men teach, that I teach them again. What men teach me, that I teach them again. Violent and overbearing men never die a natural death. It is my object to instruct men as a father nurtures his children. The weakest things in the world subjugate the strongest. There are no men who persevere uninterruptedly in the culture of Tao. I know from this that in inaction there is advantage. There are few in the world who attain to teaching without words, and to the advantage that results from inaction. What is more important, one's reputation or one's body? What is more valuable, one's body or one's goods? Which is the greater evil, getting or losing? Inordinate love cannot be result in the utter abandonment of its objects, though eventual disgust. And over-hoarding cannot, but result in heavy loss. He who knows when he has enough does not lay himself open to shame. He who knows when to stop will not incur damage. These two contain the elements of endurance. The perfection of the Tao is as though incomplete. Its uses are inexhaustible. The fullness of the great Tao is as though evaporating. Its responsiveness to requirements is limitless. The straightness of the great Tao is as though crooked. The skillfulness of the great Tao has appearance of stupidity. The eloquence of the great Tao is as though defective of speech. Yeah. Restlessness overcomes cold. Quiescence overcomes heat. Let me look up quiescence real quick. Inactivity, dormancy. Oh, okay. Inactivity overcomes heat. Purity and repose will make the world upright. The perfection, fullness, straightness of Tao is as exemplified in the characters of men. These virtues are hidden and therefore unrecognized by others. When the world is under the influence of Tao at peace, Swift horses are discarded as so much ordure. When the world is without Tao, in the state of war or anarchy, war horses are born even in the remote wilds. They are bred everywhere. There is no greater sin than that of permitting desire. There is no calamity greater than discontent. There is no fault greater than the desire of gain. Wherefore the sufficiency of those who are contented is an enduring sufficiency. Wherefore the sufficiency of those who are contented. Wherefore the sufficiency of those who are contented is an enduring sufficiency. Okay, there we go. There are those who understand all about the empire without going out of the doors. There are those who see the course of heaven without peeping through the lattice. The further one goes in pursuit of Tao, the less one knows about it. Thus, the sage has knowledge without going in quest. He can identify things without seeing them, and he achieves results without working. In pursuing the study of Tao, there will be daily increases in acting out the Tao when learnt. There will be daily diminution. This marks the characteristics of the two stages. In the first, the man appears to make rapid progress in learning and philosophy, and so cuts a figure for the world. In the second, he becomes simple, humble, self-effacing, and thus may be said to diminish. When this diminution is still further diminished, he will arrive at the state of inaction, or quiescence. There is nothing that cannot be done by inaction. There is nothing that cannot be done by inaction. The sage ever employs inaction in administering the empire. As those who put themselves to trouble in the matter, they are inadequate to the task of government. So true. As for those who put themselves to the trouble, they are inadequate to the task. So true. The sage's heart is not immutable. He regards the people's heart as his own. The virtuous I encourage or approve. The unvirtuous I would incite to virtue. The virtue of the sage makes virtuous. The trustworthy I trust. The untrustworthy I would make trustworthy. The virtue of the sage engenders trust. When the sage occupies the throne of the empire, he is anxiously bent on making it all of one mind. The people all fix their ears and eyes on him, and the sage treats them as children. Men, in being born, emerge, in dying, they enter. The birth of man resembles the emergence of an insect from its grub stage. When he comes to die, his soul returns to heaven and his body to the earth, while his corpse enters the soil, or whatever, to the earth. Two different terms here that are not properly translated. I guess these pound signs were literal Chinese inscriptions in the copy that this was translated from. We just didn't make the translation. There are 13 organs of life, the 4 limbs and 9 openings. There are 13 causes of death, the departure of the 3 souls, the 7 spirits, vital force, and yin and yang. There are 13 seats of death in the active life of men, the 8 extremities of the compass, and the 5 elements. This means that death may be met in all places and occur from all causes. Okay. And why is it thus? It is that the succession of births is a substantial property of Tao. Now I have heard it said that a man who understands how to protect his life will never meet with a rhinoceros or tiger while traveling. If he enters the army, he will not shrink from the weapons of the enemy. Thus, the rhinoceros has nothing for his horn to attack. The tiger has nothing on which to stretch his claws. The soldier has no use for his blade. How is this to be accounted for? It is that the man keeps up out of the reach of death. He never meets wild animals because he avoids their track. He is not slain in battle because he is brave and does not fear the enemy. When Tao produces, what Tao produces, its energy nourishes. The things so produced and nourished have form, which is determined by the nature of their surroundings, so that there is nothing in the whole world that does not reflect honor upon Tao and reverence upon its energy. The honor thus paid to the one. Thus, the honor thus paid to the one and reverence paid to the other is the result of no command. It is the ordinary and natural condition of things. Therefore, what Tao produces, energy nourishes. Everything is nurtured as it grows, is brought to maturity when complete, is protected while being fed. Tao produces without claiming merit. It works without presuming. It causes increase without destroying. This is called sublime virtue. Oof. Lots of intense discipline. Yeah. Well, it's just a lot of things to consider. A lot of stopping yourself in mental tracks that, even though have been useful for us or have the image of being something higher, there's too much mental and egoistic chaos going in all of us to connect with the essence, with the focus that we give it. It's kind of weird, kind of paradoxical, but it's a lot of it's almost there's a kind of meditation called not wakefulness, like mindfulness meditation. Instead of just sitting there calming your mind, like or you go about your day like aware all the time, never going into autopilot, never going into your usual thought loops, your thought circuses, like we all have. I used to have very bad thought theaters of certain events or things that I would do, which became super annoying after a point. That required quite a bit of time of stopping myself dead in my tracks, being like, wait, stop. We've already been through this. I've already been through this. I already thought about this and went through the whole rigmarole. Why? I don't need to. It's just damaging. Waste of time, waste of serotonin. It does take a while to get into that mode of kind of curbing your focus to get a connection to the essence of all. Yes, exactly. Stop us from chipping out or blackpilling or getting depressed. And stopping us at a point where having us stop or change
at a point in our mind where it'll avoid chipping out or black pilling or depression, because you're not confused by your thoughts on things. Like it has made itself apparent to you. You just gotta open yourself up to it. You would think like having the focus on it all the time would be something akin to that, but no, it's actually a wall to that. Calm maxing, yep, exactly. Exercise is I think it's a great way to practice the Tao. Taking care of your body. You get your body in shape, like you get your mind in shape, your emotions, the world around you. Time to hit the bench, let's go. This is the primary purpose of esoteric knowledge, is this kind of a strength and standing. Yes, there's a lot of scary stuff, a lot of evil in the world. You cannot be putting that into your mind without some footing, some solid ground. Which, you know, Christianity is pretty solid on that. Maybe at one point we'll read the Bible on stream, or bits of it. But I feel like Taoism is also pretty solid on that as well, the messaging. Okay, so we're more than halfway through. Yeah, we'll just end up finishing it, fuck it. I don't think it's that much left, really. There to Lee, where's Lee? Lee. Where's Lee? Lee? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're almost done. Turn up the music here a bit. You're listening to Satisfaction Guaranteed Vaporwave Synthwave Mix.
In the beginning of the world, there was that which became the world's mother. If one knows the mother, he will likewise recognize the offspring, and to the end of his days he will incur no danger. If one represses his lustful inclinations and closes his door, he will be in quietude all of his life. And if he gives rein to voluptuousness and indulges his desires, there will be never any salvation for him. He who perceives things that are minute is called clear-sighted. He who husbands his weakness is called resolute or strong-minded. He who uses the light that is in him will revert to his native perspicacity. What? What's that mean?
Perspicacity.
Perspicacity? Quality of having a ready insight into things, shrewdness, astuteness, discernment. Oh, okay, perception. I get it now. Will revert to his native discernment. Not exposing the body to disasters implies the practice of ethical morality. So true. That is to say, if a man is always free from harm, he may be sure he does nothing to outrage the propriety and virtue, seeing that immortality is actually harmful to the body. Given that I am possessed of all embracing knowledge, I act in accordance to the great Tao. Only there is danger in conferring this privilege on others, for the great Tao is far removed, and the common people are addicted to walking in crossroads. When the imperial court is devoid of virtuous ministers, the fields will be entirely neglected and the granaries entirely empty. Ministers, I guess, being like a lower form of politician. Not exactly the king, maybe somebody more local. Magistrate, maybe. To dress in rich embroideries, to carry a sharp sword, to be wasteful in food and drink, and to have a superabundance of wealth and goods. This is to be what may be called a robber chief. That is not the Tao, indeed. The man who knows how to establish virtue never fears its being uprooted. The man who knows how to maintain virtue never fears its escaping him. Yes. The sons and grandsons of such never rest in offering sacrifices to them. The virtue of him who cultivates Tao in his own persona is genuine. The virtue of him who cultivates it in his own home is superabundant, in that he has clarity to spare for others. Virtue of him who cultivates it in his village is enduring. The virtue of him who cultivates it in his state is exuberant. The virtue of him who cultivates it in the empire is universal. Therefore I judge the persons of others by my own person, the families of others by my own family, the villages of others by my own village, the state of others by my own state, the empire of ancient kings by the empire I rule today. How do I know the acquiescence of the world in the cultivation of Tao? By this method. The quiescence. Acceptance, ascension, concurrence, approval. How do I know the approval of the world? He who mews and practices semen retention will feel pussy on Venus. So true. I do it. It is real. I'm still waiting. He who possesses virtue inwardly may be compared to a newborn child. Venomous reptiles will not sting him. Savage beasts will not lie in wait for him. Birds of prey will not clutch at him. His bones are supple, his sinews pliable, so that he has a firm grip. Before the principle of sexual connection was known, the cosmic embryo was formed. This was because the germinating essence, the yin and yang, had come together. This rendering differs widely from that of the Su Yu Su, which is much simpler and more in continuity with what goes before. This exposition has been adopted by Julian. He, the ungrown boy, knows nothing yet of the union of the sexes, but nevertheless certain parts of his body experience a viral orgasm that comes from the perfection of the semen. The view of Lu Su is, however, born out of by several passages of the I Ching. The character is explained as synonymous with translates I guess I must be referring to some other document. To cry all day and not become hoarse. This comes from the completion of the harmony. The knowledge of this harmony may be called the basis or pivot of virtue, and knowledge of this basis is called enlightenment. When the Tao is augmented, it will produce daily omens of good. When the heart dominates the vital energy, or breath, the man becomes daily stronger. When things have become strong, straightway begin. What? When things having become strong, straightway begin to age. This implies a divergence from the Tao. Those who are not in accord with the Tao die early. Those who know the Tao don't speak. Those who speak do not know it. To repress voluptuous desires, to close one's door, to chasten asperity, to unravel confusion, to moderate one's internal radiance, to identify oneself with the lowly, this may be called being in conformity with the sublime. Pre-Christian, pre-Jesus-like if you ask me. Wherefore, others cannot be familiar with such, nor yet keep at a distance from them, cannot reap advantage from them, nor yet incur harm, cannot confirm honor upon them, nor yet degrade them, and thus their honor comes from the whole world. The cultivator of Tao uses uprightness in governing his state, exceptional sagacity, like sage qualities, in war and in action in obtaining the empire. How did I know that such is the case? By this. When there are many prohibitions in the empire, the people become the more impoverished. When the people accumulate excess of wealth and goods, both state and family become gradually demoralized. When men are over skillful, the use of fantastical things gradually arises. When instruments of punishment gradually come into play, robbers increase in number. Wherefore the sage says, I do nothing, and the people reform of their own accord. I love quietude, and the people become spontaneously upright. I take no measures, and the people enrich themselves. I have no desires, and the people naturally become simple. When the policy of administration is apparently inert, the people are... Oh, did my speaker turn off? Oh, yeah. The policy of administration is apparently inert, the people are liberal-minded and frank. When such policy is based on espionage, the people are resentful and dissatisfied. Happiness is correlated to calamity. Calamity is never hidden under happiness. It is ever hidden under happiness. Who can tell the boundary line which divides one from the other? If the prince be devoid of rectitude, the rectitude of his people will be turned into craft, and their goodness be turned into depravity. When the people are under delusion, the days of their prince cannot last. Therefore the sage is correct in his conduct, and never abandons his correctness. He is incorruptible, and never inflicts injury by a bad example. He is straightforward and never acts at random. He shines with internal radiance but dazzles nobody. In governing men and serving heaven, there is nothing equal to temperance. It's only by temperance that one may be said to submit. Bedtimes to Tao. Early submission to Tao implies a heavy accumulation of virtue. When virtue is thus heavily accumulated, there's nothing to which the man is inadequate. When there is nothing to which a man is inadequate, it is impossible to know the limits of his resources. The man whose resources are limitless is fit to possess the state. The possession of mother and the state involves its long endurance, and it may then be said to have a deep root and solid stock. This is the Tao which gives immortality the power of long observing the affairs of the world. To govern a great state as one fries a little fish without taking any trouble is to employ Tao in administering the empire. The spirits of the departed are not sacrificed to as gods. Neither are the spirits of those who do not belong to a man's own family based. The gods of the land do not inflict injury upon the inhabitants, nor do those which belong to other lands. The sage also inflicts no injury. Neither he nor they injure each other, so that the virtue of both unites and converges in one direction. A great state is the rendezvous towards which the whole empire converges. It is a mother among all nations, the maternal and the female principle by which of quiescence ever vanquishes the inquietude of the male principle. The prince, by quiescent policy, makes himself humble. Is inactive, quiescence being inactivity. By an inactive policy, the prince makes himself humble. It is for this reason that a great state, by bearing itself humbly towards a small state, gains its allegiance, and a small state, by bearing itself humbly towards a great state, may obtain possession of it. Thus, an inferior state can either be taken by this means, or can itself take a superior one. When a great state has no desire beyond protecting all its subjects equally, and a small state has no desire but to belong to the greater one and serve its prince, both will attain to their positions proper to each. Those who aspire to greatness must humble themselves. So true. Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I'm down. Welcome back, Midas. My cum is limitless. Alright, almost done here. The Tao is the deep reservoir of all things. It is the jewel of the good man and the guardian of the bad. Virtuous words are marketable. Honorable deeds may be made over to the credit of others. What reason is there for casting a man off on account of his being unvirtuous? Wherefore, though the emperor be enthroned, and his ministers appointed, holding their jade badges of office in front of them, and riding in a chariot of four, it may be better to remain seated and quiet, and to adopt or enter into this Tao. It was this Tao that the ancients revered. Why do not the rulers of today strive daily to acquire it? The ancients, taking the national sins upon themselves, their subjects put away their depravity, and therefore they were honored by the whole empire. The sage acts as though not acting. He occupies himself as though having nothing to do. He relishes that which is insipid, the Tao. The great, the small, the many, and the few are all equal in his sight. He encompasses injury with kindness. In setting about difficult tasks, he begins with what is easy. In performing great things, he begins with the little ones. The difficult affairs of the world must be begun from what is easy. The great things of the world must be begun from what is small. That is why the sage never sets about the great undertakings, and yet is able to accomplish many things. Lightly made promises lead to very little faith being placed on the promiser. He to whom most things are very easy at first will certainly find many difficulties afterwards. Thus, the sage always recognizes the existence of difficulty, and by this means he never experiences any difficulty in practice. When the state is at peace, it is easily supported or maintained. The portents have not yet appeared. When portents have not yet appeared, it is easy to provide for future contingencies. When a thing is brittle, it is easily broken. When a thing is minute, it is easily dispersed. Act before pressing necessity for action arises. Act before pressing necessity for action arises. Govern well the state before anarchy breaks out. A tree which takes the arms of 2 men to span it grew from a tiny sprout. A tower 9 stories high was raised from a mound of earth. A journey of 1,000 li begins with a foot's pace. He who acts fails. He who grasps loses. The sage never acts, and therefore he never fails. He never grasps, and therefore he never loses. The people in their undertakings frequently fail when they are on the verge of accomplishment. The cautious act towards the end of an undertaking as at the commencement, and that is why they never fail. The cautious act towards the end of an undertaking as the commencement. The cautious act until the end the way they were at first. And that is why they never fail. They keep their initial act, and that's why they never fail. Okay. Thus the sages, as though he desired not. Thus the sage desires as though he desired not, and attaches no value to things difficult of acquisition. He learns what others do not learn, and returns to what is passed over by the multitude. By this means he promotes the spontaneous development of all things, and that without venturing to act. So true. Those who in ancient times were eminent for the presence of Tao abstained from enlightening the people and kept them simple. The difficulty of governing the people arises from their excess of shrewdness. He who implies shrewdness in governing a state becomes a robber of the state. He who does not do so is a blessing to it. The man who knows both these things presents an ideal of good government, and a knowledge of this ideal constitutes sublime virtue. Sublime virtue is deep and far-reaching, and is in opposition to all things of desire. Thus it is able to bring about universal accordance. The fact that rivers and seas are able to be rulers over all watercourses is due to their downward tendency. It is on account of this that they are able to dominate all waters. Therefore, the sage who desires to reign over the people must be retiring in demeanor. Then, when the sage occupies a high position, his subjects will not be self-sufficient. When he leads the van, his subjects will not work injury by disobedience or rebellion. Thus it comes that the whole empire delights to render him his dues, and that without reluctance and that without reluctance, and that he never strives, therefore the empire is unable to strive with him. The inhabitants of the world all say that I am great, although I have the appearance of incompetence. This apparent incompetence is the result of my very greatness. In the case of one who is possessed of more than ordinary ability, he sets his mind constantly upon even the smallest matters. Now there are three things which I regard as precious, which I grasp and prize. The first is compassion, the second, frugality, the third is not venturing to take precedence of others, modesty. I prize compassion, therefore I am able to be fearless. I prize frugality, therefore I am able to be liberal. I prize modesty, therefore I am able to become a leader of men. But men of the present day abandon compassion, yet aim at valiancy. They abandon frugality, yet aim at being liberal. They abandon modesty, yet aim at leadership. This is the death of them. Now when one is compassionate in battle, he will be victorious. When one is compassionate in defending, his defenses will be strong. When heaven intends to deliver men, it employs compassion to protect them. Those eminent for scholarly virtues are not fighting men. Those eminent in war do not lose their temper. Those eminent for victory do not struggle. Those eminent for making use of others descend to their level. This may be called the virtue which does not contend, the power of utilizing men, the utmost limit that can be reached in equaling heaven and the men of old. Where's the music? What the fuck? There was a saying among the military commanders of old, I do not venture to act the host, to give battle. I prefer to be the guest, to await the attack. I do not venture to advance an inch. I prefer to retire a foot. This may be called operating negatively, and appropriating the enemy's possessions without infringing propriety. Were this policy pursued, there would be no withstanding of our arms, and capture might be effected without striking a blow. There is no greater calamity than that of despising an enemy. By underestimating the enemy, one brings about the loss of three things I prize. Therefore, when opposing forces meet in battle, it is the compassionate who conquer. My words are easy to understand, easy to put into practice, yet the world can neither understand nor practice them. My words have an underlying intent, my actions have a ruling motive. It is only ignorance that causes men not to understand my doctrine. Those who understand me are few, those who copy me are worthy. Wherefore the sage dresses in coarse robes while hiding a jewel in his breast. Those who do not understand the Tao are conscious their upward progression. Those who count their ignorance as knowledge are diseased. It is only those who treat themselves as sick who are therefore free from disease. The sage who is not diseased treats himself as though he were. Wherefore his disease becomes no disease at all. When the people do not stand in awe of severe enactments, great visitations will befall the state. When a man does not behave indecorously? Badly or rudely? When a man does not behave badly within doors, he will not inspire disgust in others. It's only when the prince does not inspire disgust that his subjects will submit to him without reluctance. Wherefore is it that the sage, though possessed by intuitive knowledge, yet makes no self-display, respects, but does not exalt himself, thus adopting the one course and avoiding the other? When bravery is pushed to rashness, a man will incur a violent death. When courage is tempered by causation, or by caution, he will preserve his life. These two conditions result in benefit, the other in injury. Who knows the cause of heaven's animosity to either? Thus it is that even the sage here sees a difficulty. The Tao of heaven never strives, yet excels in victory. It speaks not, yet excels in responding to desert. It beckons not, yet things come to it of their own accord. It lies concealed, yet excels in organizing. The net of heaven extends everywhere. Its meshes are wide, and nothing ever escapes it. So true. If people do not fear death, why attempt to frighten them by capital punishment? Supposing the people are made constantly afraid of death, so that when they commit unlawful acts, I arrest them and have them killed. Who will dare afterwards misbehave? For then there will always be yuzu, or civil magistrates, to execute them. Now the execution of men on behalf of the inflictor of the death punishment, by those not legally qualified to do so, may be compared to hewing on behalf of a master carpenter. And people who attempt to hew instead of a master carpenter mostly cut their hands. Interesting. But yeah, that is an interesting point. If people do not fear death, why attempt to frighten them by capital punishment? So true. The hunger of the people is due to exorbitant taxation levied by their rulers. This is why they starve. The difficulty of governing the people arises from the policy of action adopted by their rulers. This is why government is difficult. The light esteem in which people hold death is due to the over-anxiety with which they struggled for life. That is why they hold death so cheap. It is only those who do not exert themselves on behalf of their life that know how to hold life in true honor, or who are superior to those who hold life in too high esteem. Men, when born, are weak and soft. When dead, they are stiff and hard. When inanimate objects, say the vegetable, are first produced, they are soft and tender. When dead, they are hard and dry. Wherefore, hardness and rigidity are associated with death, soft and weakness with life. So when soldiers are violent, they gain no victories. When the tree is strong, a combination of strength is used to make it fall. Its big parts are below, its soft and tender parts above. So true. The Tao. Damn, we're almost done. We did it, boys. We made it to the end. We're on the home stretch now. The Tao of heaven resembles a drawn bow. It brings down the high and exalts the lowly. It takes from those who have superfluity and gives to those who have not enough. The Tao of heaven abstracts where there is too much and supplements when there is deficiency. The Tao of men does not so. The Tao of men does not so. It takes away from what is already deficient in order to bestow on those who have a superfluity. Who is able to devote his surplus to the needs of others? Only he who is possessed of Tao. Thus it is that the sage acts, yet does not plume himself, achieves works of merit, yet does not hold to them. He has no wish to make a display of his worthiness. There's nothing under heaven that is weaker or softer than water. Yet those who attack what is hard and strong are not aware of this. The soft and weak. Weak, I guess, weak being the translation. You just focus on like soft, I guess, and like the opposite of hard and strong. Yet those who attack what is hard and strong are not aware that it is the soft and weak that can overcome it. Thus they do not see that their task is an easy one. The fact that weakness overcomes strength, that the soft overcomes the hard, is unknown to none. Yet they cannot act upon it. Therefore the sage says, he who bears the approach of the state may be called Lord of the nation's altars. He who bears the calamities of the state may be called the King of the world. These are true words, though apparently at variance with reason, paradoxical. Yeah, to say the least. When peace is made after a great quarrel, there is always a feeling of resentment left behind. How can this be regarded as right? Wherefore the sage, unwilling to shift responsibility upon others, keeps, on his left hand, an officer to make record of his obligations. The virtuous man keeps a record of his compacts. The unprincipled man repudiates or destroys them. The Tao of Heaven has no favorites. Its practice is simply to reward the virtuous. With a small state, sparsely populated, supposing that I had weapons for 1,000 men, I would not use them. I would rather teach my subjects to think seriously of death, and not to emigrate to a distance. Then, though they might have ships and chariots, nobody would mount them. Though they might have armor and weapons, nobody would set them in array. I would make them return to the use of the quipu, render their food toothsome, beautify their clothes by cultivating the silkworm, live tranquilly at home, be happy in their domestic usages, keep watch of their neighborhood states for their mutual safety, and let the crowing of cocks and barking of dogs be heard by one another from their numbers and proximity. Thus the people would die of old age without ever coming into the hostile collision with each other. Faithful words are not pleasant. Pleasant or specious words are not faithful. The virtuous do not bandy arguments. Those who bandy arguments are not virtuous. The wise do not seek learning from outside. Those who do so are not wise. The sage does not lay up hidden stores of Tao. The more he employs it on behalf of others, the more he has for himself. The more he imparts to others, the more his own stores increase. The Tao of Heaven confers benefit and injures not. The Tao of the sage acts and does not strive. The end. Dang. That was so cool. And that's just the main book. There are a couple of others, to say the least here. Maybe later we'll read them. I think some of these are shorter affairs. Let me try to get that Midas link. It's still here, to be honest. Might be lost to time. Aww. You there, Midas? Alright, Deuterinos. That's a good 3 hours. It's a tiny bit longer than the other books, I guess. There was a lot of downtime
on this one, I think. But I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. See you all at Scroat stream. I think you might be live still. Gonna have some practice today, but I should be home by Snodcast time. Don't worry. Yeah, thank you, Scroat. Thank you, Anthol, Midas, Hoganable, Perry, Chemo. I'll see y'all motherfuckers later. Peace. Thank you for chilling, having me read a bit of esoterica. I don't even. What do you call it? Esoterica? There's nothing really magical or mystical about it, but it does deal with the mystery, the biggest mystery of all. But it's kind of nice, you know. It's pretty straightforward, not super allegorical. Maybe a bit here and there. I was also thinking of reading the beginning of the Corpus Hermeticum. Those Hermetic principles are pretty fire and true. But yeah, peace out. Have a good snod day, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.